Jenny,
Yes,
what state is Ole Miss located in?
Mississippi.
All right.
Very good.
Good job. Good job. You're listening to the Auxiliary Gate Podcast, Kentucky's weekly horse racing discussion. And now, here are your hosts, Alan Schneider, Geoff Riggs, and me, CC Broaddus. Hello, it's time now for episode number 230 of the Auxiliary Gate Podcast, bringing you on a weekly basis the best in horse racing coverage in the most unprofessional way that we know how to deliver. And of course, we're going to bring in now Alan Schneider, the founder, the guy that made up the name Auxiliary Gate Podcast. He created that name. How are you doing, sir?
Well, you got a pretty good memory. I remember we were, 4 or 5 years ago trying to come up with a name, and I'm like, we both have uh, this love of previous Churchill Downs right from decades and decades ago, and the auxiliary gate was always like a really like a cool thing back in the day, right? It's no longer around, but it seemed like a good name for a Kentucky horse racing podcast, so I got lucky with that one.
Yeah, it took like 2 minutes to come
Yeah.
up with that.
And then we're like, all right, that's good enough. It's kind of like the way we do
Yeah,
research on this thing. 2 minutes
right,
and then we're good.
right. Geoff Riggs is here. Florence, y'all. Geoff, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What's going on, guys? Yeah, I love the name Auxiliary Gate. And Alan, you would have been 1 to 9 if anybody told me to guess who came up with that name. That is an Alan Schneider special right there.
CC would eventually came up with it too because it's just media derby coverage back in the day. It was always about who was going to be in that auxiliary gate, who was going to be in that
Yeah.
auxiliary gate. So yeah, that's where it came from.
Speaking of the auxiliary gate, let's do some auxiliary gate trivia.
Oh
Uh, we'll
God,
make we'll make this short and sweet. How many Kentucky Derby winners have broken from the auxiliary gate?
geez, you'd think someone who came up with the name of the damn podcast would come up with this,
I'm going to tell
but
you what, it's more than I thought.
uh, well, it
Interesting.
seems like there was a rash of them in the last 10 to 20 years, right? I'll go with 16.
Geoff,
I was going to go way less than that. I'll say 9.
14.
Oh, okay.
Man, look at you, Alan.
That and
You're trying
14
to
would
sell
not
yourself short.
and 14 would not actually be the auxiliary gate, right? To be the last stall in the primary gate back in the day. Or maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that's
Wait a
right.
minute. Wait a minute. Wait. I think I counted wrong. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm sorry. It's 13.
Okay. Darn.
You're still
I
close.
counted Rich Strike.
Is he in that big 20 stall gate? Is that what it
He
was?
broke he broke from 20, but the auxiliary gate went away
The
in
one big
2020
gate. Yeah, yeah.
because I think Sovereignty won from 18 last year and
Mhm.
Authentic won from like 15 yeah. So see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's American Pharaoh in 2015, Orb in 2013, Fusaichi Pegasus in 2000, Grindstone in 1996, Swale in 1984. Those five broke from post 15.
Hmm.
Post 16 is produced Animal Kingdom in 2011, Monarchos in 2001, Charismatic in 99, Thunder Gulch in 95. Uh, 17, I thought did Sovereignty not break from 17 last year?
It's
So
hard to
17
remember.
has never produced a winner. I don't have to double check that. But anyway, no auxiliary gate winners from 17. 18, Country House in 2019. Gato del Sol in 1982. I'll have another from post 19 in 2012. And then Big Brown in 2008. So there you go.
Just shows you that staying clear of that initial traffic is not a bad thing to do, right? And of course, when you get that kind of a run all the way down the stretch, it's a big help as well, too. You can eye that competition to the inside. So
That is counterintuitive from what we always thought about the Derby because
agreed.
it's that was a
All about
problem.
saving ground. Yep.
Yeah.
And some horses have. Mind that bird, Super Saver come to mind, right? Some of the speed horses that have won, like Always Dreaming. But yeah,
Street
it's
sense.
street sense. But it seems like there's an all or nothing thing right there, either on the rail or from the far outside, getting nice spotting trip.
Okay. Probably gonna have a long show this evening, so let's end the banter, go directly to our guest. Hold on just a second. Our guest this evening is a former Kentucky State Senator from 2003 to 2024 and Majority Floor Leader from 2013 to 2024. He spearheaded the 2021 bill that protected historical horse racing, enabling Kentucky to offer the highest overall purses in the nation. He also played a central role in passing sports wagering legislation. He is a 2024 recipient of the Warner L. Jones Jr. Horseman of the Year Award. And I just found out this evening that he's been inducted into the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. We'll talk about that in just a second. But please welcome a friend of racing and a friend of the pod, Damon Thayer. Hello,
Hey
Damon.
guys. Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's always good to be with you guys. We have a lot of similar interests and it's always fun to talk to you guys, and thanks for the shout out about the Hall of Fame. I never thought I'd be in the Hall of anything except maybe the hallway on the in my school to the principal's office for mouthing off to my teacher. That was about the only hall I ever thought I'd be in. So that was a pretty cool thing.
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't know that, being I live about 10 miles from Bardstown. But I have to read off, we have to give you your flowers. I have to read off some of your cohorts that are now in this Hall of Fame that you share honors with. Let me read off some of these names. This is pretty cool, actually. Chad McCoy is somebody that I know really well. Julian Pappy Van Winkle is in the Hall of Fame. That's pretty neat. Bill Samuels, the Shapiras, Max and Harry Shapiro. That's the
Heaven Hill.
They're big deals. Yeah, around here they own Heaven Hill. Senator Wendell Ford, Gene Schneider. I think there's a road named after him in Louisville somewhere. Of course, see a lot of Beams I'm certain from Jim Beam. President William Howard Taft, and Dixie Hibbs is a lady that she just passed away recently, but she's from Bardstown. And yeah, Parker Bean, Bill Samuels Jr., Booker No, I think he's a master distiller, maybe a Jim Beam, somewhere locally. Anyway, there's a lot of important names in the bourbon industry now. Now, Damon, you're a part of that list. That's pretty cool.
It's pretty humbling. I'm just a kid from northern Michigan who loved horse racing and moved to Kentucky to work at Turfway Park. Got sidetracked into politics for a while, and my philosophy of removing artificial barriers to free enterprise synced perfectly with what was going on in the bourbon industry. And during my time in the legislature, I helped pass 20 bills to unleash the bourbon boom in Kentucky. And along the way, started drinking bourbon, collecting bourbon, when you could collect rare and hard to find bourbons, and then started my own bourbon brand. And this is from a kid who, I used to be like the king of the pink drink. I would drink like Fuzzy Navels and White Zinfandel. And then in my early 40s, along came bourbon. And the only brown liquor I was ever exposed to growing up in northern Michigan was Canadian Club. And when I was a kid, all the parents would sit around the campfire at night in the woods in northern Michigan and pass around Canadian Club, and we would go play Ghost in the Graveyard or hide and go seek. And I'm like, man, that stuff smells like crap. I never want to be anywhere near it. Pardon any Canadian Club aficionados out there. And so I never was around whiskey of any kind until I started getting invited to these ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings in the distillery business. And every time you went to one, they would, of course, pass out free samples. And who am I to turn down free booze? So I was like, wow, this stuff is really good. And there you go. My political philosophy lined up perfectly with what the bourbon industry was trying to do. After repeal day, after prohibition was repealed, the states then then got to pass laws to govern the alcohol business in each state. So every state has its own set of rules. And Kentucky, being a heavily Baptist state, passed all these crazy restrictions on when and where and how and why you could consume alcohol. Not on Sundays, not on election day, not after the Paul Harvey noon report on your local radio station. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. Anything to keep people from drinking booze. And then along comes this Catholic from Northern Michigan, and right at the time when the bourbon industry was reaching a tipping point and looking to uh, get rid of some of these artificial restrictions. I mean, it was less than 10 years ago. You could only buy a couple of bottles of bourbon at a bourbon distillery gift shop, and they could only give you like a half an ounce sample. I mean, it was just ridiculous. They couldn't serve you a cocktail. They couldn't have food on the premises. This was all in Senate Bill 11, Senator John Chickel's bill from 10, 12, 13 years ago, where we lifted these barriers and allowed all these, privileges. They're called privileges in the business, but you know, come on, you're a bourbon distillery. Let people buy the product, sample the product, drink the product. And that's and the rest is history. I mean, we are facing some headwinds in the bourbon business right now. I think it's a correction that will take care of itself in time. But the bourbon tourism side of things is showing no signs of slowing down. And it's nice to be able to look back and be a small part of that kind of change, along with my fellow legislators who worked on those things. And I was just lucky that my district, the people of my district, and the people of my caucus put me in a position to be able to lead on some of these issues to help bourbon and the horse racing industries, which are the two things that people think of when they think of Kentucky.
What are some headwinds in relation to bourbon right now?
Well, so the entire alcohol sector across the world is facing some headwinds right now. In France, the winemakers are going to petition the socialists and the government there for a total bailout, and they'll probably get it, because that's what they do in socialism. But what we're seeing is a number of factors. Some of them are specific to bourbon, and some of them are alcohol as a whole. We are returning to pre-pandemic levels of drinking. We drank a lot of booze during the pandemic because little Andy Bashir wouldn't let us do anything else, so we stayed at home and drank booze, and that was really all over the world. And now we're kind of reverting to the mean. So alcohol sales across all sectors are down. And then for bourbon, there is, and I'm a Republican. I'm a 3-time general election Trump voter, although I never voted for him in a primary. Just want to get that out there. I'm an old school Reagan Republican. I don't like tariffs, and the tariffs and the bourbon industry are hurting. I went to Canada twice this summer to see our CJ Thoroughbreds colt, Tom's Magic. He was second in the King's Plate and then won the Breeder Stakes. Not a bottle of Kentucky bourbon in the Toronto duty-free store. And these tariffs have resulted in retaliatory tariffs against Kentucky bourbon because it's an American product. And these big heritage distilleries are struggling to grow overseas because of the tariffs. So that's a headwind. Also, the Gen Z 20-something generation, for whatever reason, they're drinking less. I contend once they get married, have careers, and have kids, that will change and everything will go back to normal. But for now, they are drinking less. There is a move towards weed water, marijuana water, and some people are moving out of alcohol into that. There's a movement to be healthier, although there's a new study out that shows drinking in moderation can actually be good for heart health. And then I think there's still uncertainty in the economy. I feel like the economy is on the cusp of roaring back this year. Gas is down, inflation is down, stock market is strong. I think the tax cuts are going to kick in. And I think people will be a little more spendy with their discretionary monies. And I think that will help the bourbon sector. And then, on the bourbon side, we do have a lot of bourbon out there. When we started passing these laws, removing these barriers to success, the big heritage distilleries and a lot of craft distilleries started building more and more rick houses, warehouses, and laying down bourbon as fast as they could. So we've got a little bit of a glut, and maybe the supply and demand equilibrium is a little off. For a while there was more demand than there was supply. Right now there's probably a little more supply than there is demand. But markets have a way of correcting themselves, and I think they will. As you guys know, I'm the co-founder, along with my business partner Andre Regard, of Kentucky Senator Bourbon. We're a super premium brand, top shelf, for bourbon lovers, bourbon connoisseurs, and we're a small startup. There is some price sensitivity in the marketplace right now that's affected us. We're not going to raise the price on this year's release, even though it's going to be a year older. Normally, when we go from a 7.5-year-old bourbon to an 8.5-year-old bourbon, we would take a price increase of 10, 15, $20 a bottle. It costs more to age bourbon. You got to pay storage fees and taxes, and it's better bourbon. But we haven't announced any of the details yet, but you'll be the first to know publicly that the price for Kentucky Senator Bourbon 8.5-year released this spring will be the same as the 7.5-year we did last year. So, I think everybody's making adjustments, and, those who are well capitalized, don't have a lot of debt, and can control their costs and are aggressive, which is what we're going to be. We're going to be aggressive. If you can be aggressive during a downturn, you'll come out the other side even better.
Now, you purchased Kentucky Senator, the label Kentucky Senator, along with the name Double. Was it Double Springs Distillery, which initially was in Bardstown?
Yeah, that's right. So Kentucky Senator Bourbon is an old shelf brand, just kind of a daily drinker, that, as far as we can tell, went out of business in the 70s. It started with the Krigler and Krigler Distillery in Covington, and then it was sold to Double Springs Distillery in Bardstown, which I don't even know where that was located. The history was kind of sketchy, but I stumbled onto the brand. Senator Jimmy Higdon, your senator, if you live in Nelson County, a good man from Marion County, right next door. He brought me this label, and he said, "Look, Damon, here's this brand, Kentucky Senator." And I had this wild idea to revive the brand and name each release after a U.S. senator. And my business partner is a lawyer, and so we applied for the trademark to the U.S. Patent Administration, and nobody claimed it. So we own it. Kentucky Senator Spirits LLC owns the brand. We didn't have to buy anything. We just claimed it. And, you have to wait a certain period of time, and nobody claimed it. So we own it, and we've had 6 releases named after different U.S. senators from Kentucky, and there's 66 of them, so we can do this for a long time. We even did a brand extension in Louisiana this year. We did a Louisiana Senator Bourbon and named it for Huey Long, the Kingfish, one of the most well-known, legendary, some people love him, some people hate him, legendary politicians from Louisiana. So that's on sale online, and as well as at stores and restaurants and bars in Louisiana.
Well, we had a question from, she's not here tonight, but our friend Jenny Doyle, she's from Louisiana, wanted to know, is there a correlation between Kentucky and Louisiana bourbon? It says a lot of Louisiana people are residing in Kentucky, and she was there for 4 years. Is there any relation there at all?
It's a great question, and the answer is yes. First of all, my business partner Andre Regard is from Louisiana originally, and that was one of the reasons we decided to expand down there. But yes, the bourbon got its name from the French royal family, the House of Bourbon, and when Kentucky was originally part of Virginia, one of the 4 original counties was called Bourbon County, in honor of the House of Bourbon from France. And so bourbon started to be made here in central Kentucky. Legend has it was started right here in Georgetown, where I live, by Elijah Craig. But what would happen is they would, once they started making this bourbon whiskey, it was whiskey from Kentucky, and they put it in the barrels and they would ship it up to Limestone, which is now known as Maysville, and they would stamp Bourbon County whiskey on the barrel head, and they would ship it down the Ohio to the Mississippi River, down to New Orleans, and people started calling it bourbon. That's how bourbon got its name. At least that's the legend. So there's a very strong tie. And of course, the Sazerac company, which owns Buffalo Trace, is owned by a family that still lives in New Orleans to this day. There's a Sazerac bar down there. There's a Sazerac cocktail that started down there. And of course, the Sazerac company, which owns great brands like Buffalo Trace and Pappy Van Winkle and E.H. Taylor and Elmer Teely and Blanton's, et cetera. They have a Sazerac rye as part of their Buffalo Trace antique collection. So there are some very strong connections between Louisiana and Kentucky when it comes to bourbon. And from what I can tell, people in Louisiana really like to drink bourbon too. So we've got that going. We got that going for sure.
All right, you've had six, you say six releases of
six releases of Kentucky Senator and one release of Louisiana Senator. Yeah, we're gonna do a 3-year series down there.
What's the difference between the six of them or the seven of them? Is there?
Yeah. So the first release was named for Alban Barkley, and it was 15 years old, and it was sourced from a very large and famous heritage distillery nearby you, Claremont. Excuse me. Not really supposed to give that away, but you can guess. And then our next, let's see, the 6, 7, 8, and 9-year releases were from a different distillery, even closer to you, that we sourced from a distillery just not far off the Bluegrass Parkway there in Bardstown. And then our latest release was also sourced from Bardstown, from a company that might have Bardstown in its name that you can see from the Bluegrass Parkway. So we're a non-distiller producer. We do not own a distillery, nor are we going to own a distillery. We source bourbon. So we buy barrels. We get samples all the time. We taste, and we buy the barrels that we think will fit our brand, and we age them to our specifications and then proof it down to 107. All of our bourbon is sold at 107 proof. That's like the traditional barrel proof that you see on Weller Antique, a couple of the Pappies, Baker's 7-year, all 107 proof. We're an expensive premium brand, so we like to give people a little extra for their money, hence the 107 proof. But we've also started doing contract distilling, where we have gone to 3 different distilleries and developed our own mash bill at that distillery. We are aging bourbon right now at Whiskey Thief in Frankfurt, Potter Jane in Springfield, and Castle and Key in Frankfurt. And that bourbon will age at least 6 years, because we will not bottle until a minimum of 6 years, because that's the length of a U.S. Senate term. And so we right now have 700 barrels of bourbon, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you consider, 200 bottles per barrel. And for a little startup, to have 700 barrels of bourbon aging that we've got staged across 3 or 4 different distilleries, we're going to use that bourbon, staged out over the course of the next several years. Our oldest contract distilled bourbon is 2 years old and is currently at Whiskey Thief in Frankfurt. I went out and tasted it a few months ago, straight from the barrel, and it is delicious. I can't wait till it hits 6, 7 years old and we start bottling it. But we've got, I've got some 11-year-old juice aging right now. I've got the 8.5-year bourbon that we're going to use this year. The Huey Long release was 8 years old, so we're going to do a second in the Louisiana Senator release with some 9-year bourbon. So, we're always going to have high proof bourbon that is going to be aged longer than most. Always going to have an aging statement, and it's going to taste pretty good too. And it's always going to be. We like to say we serve up great bourbon with a side of history. And that's why we think we're going to have staying power. There's a lot of brands out there, and I wish everybody well. But we're not just sticking a label on a bottle. We're telling Kentucky's history through its U.S. senators. So great bourbon, great history. We've got a cool looking bottle. We've won a lot of awards. Our 9-year John Brown release from 2024 was a finalist for best small batch aged bourbon of the year in the San Francisco World Spirits Competition, which is pretty prestigious. That we were one of the 5 finalists, out of hundreds of submissions, and we won a double gold in San Francisco. So, we feel like, we're in a pretty good space, and we're going to continue to be aggressive. We're just 2 guys and an intern. We make, Andre and I make all the decisions. We have a great marketing intern from UK who does a great job helping us out, and we've got investors, but we make all the decisions. So we're able to, during times like this where it's, a little bit of a course correction, we're able to make quick decisions and kind of change. And we've made some decisions to, away from our original business plan because of this downturn. I told you about the pricing change, and there are others that'll become evident as time goes on.
All right, let's switch gears now. I'm going to put you on the spot. We want an honest answer from you. There was some rumbling late 2024. I'm excited. Don't let me down. Are you going to run for governor?
Oh, let's find out.
There's two people that I know that would make a good governor. One is Chad McCoy, and I don't think there's a chance in hell that he would do it. You would be the other. Let's do it right now.
I'm not running for governor next year. I plan to support Congressman Jamie Comer. He's probably 10 months away from announcing his run for governor. But I've known him a long time. I supported him in that primary in 2015 against Matt Bevin. That Bevin won by 83 votes. And Congressman Comer is doing a great job, and I think he's going to be a great candidate for governor. The only way I would consider running for governor is if something happened and he decided not to run. But right now, I believe he's 99% going to run, and that means I'm 99% not running. But I do appreciate you guys mentioning that and asking. It's an honor to be asked. And people assumed when I stepped away from the Senate and being majority leader that I had some other political plans. And some people talked to me about running for the U.S. Senate this year or Congress. And truthfully, I think I probably could have won that congressional seat here in the 6th district. But I just needed a break from elective politics, and I slayed a lot of dragons, and I lived a dream being in the Senate 12 years, being the majority leader for 12. And I just felt like I wanted to get back into the private sector for a while and spend time on building this bourbon company. And my consulting company has taken off. I mean, like, people ask me what I'm doing. I said, I'm saving horse racing one state at a time. I mean, I'm working in Florida, Iowa, Virginia, trying to legalize horse racing in Georgia and North Carolina. I'm working with the Red Mile here in Kentucky. I help them secure the Breeders' Crown in 2027. I'll be helping them run that event. And before I got into politics, I worked at the Breeders' Cup, and before that, I worked at Turfway and the Maryland Jockey Club and Thistledown in Detroit. And I'm 58 years old, and I just felt like I wanted to take a break from elective politics and try to slay some dragons in the private sector. I think I'm unlikely to run for office again someday, but I'm savvy enough, been around long enough that you never want to say never. But I don't think it'll be anytime soon. I like what I'm doing. I speak political jargon, legislative jargon, and I speak horse racing jargon. And, there are people in various states who are willing to pay me to put my skill set to use to try to help horse racing. And we're sure at a tipping point, guys. We're sure at a tipping point. And I hope in some small way I can help keep this great sport, this great industry from becoming a regional sport. I'm doing my part. I want it to stay a national sport of national importance. And I'm going to do the best I can. We got a big fight on our hands in Florida again this year. We got a fight in Virginia. We're fighting the good fight in Iowa. Got some other things in play. Horse racing exists because of laws that were passed by various state legislatures down through the years, and legislatures can take away what legislatures giveth, legislatures can take away.
Well,
and that's a big problem right now in Florida and some other states too.
right. We'll get into that in just a second. But real quick, if Mr. Comer can be elected and be our new governor, is there any way we could get Alan Schneider appointed to the Kentucky Racing Commission?
Well, it's no longer called the Kentucky Racing Commission. The last bill I passed rebranded it as the Kentucky Horse Racing and Gaming Corporation because it has horse racing, sports betting, and now charitable gaming all under one roof. But I might have hopefully Governor Comer's ear and talk to him about that. And there'll certainly be there will certainly be changes. If we go from a Democrat to a Republican governor, there's going to be changes in lots of boards and commissions and things like that.
Now, this is a serious question. Well, semi-serious, but there is one change to the pari-mutuel rules that I'd like to see enacted, and that's and you're the only person I know of that I could ask this question to and get a reasonable answer as to how you would go about doing it. In relation to pick 5, pick 4, pick 3 wagers, in this state, in most states, you get down to the if you have a pre-race scratch, a post-time scratch, you receive if you have a scratch in the middle of a sequence, and that horse is on your ticket, you receive the post-time favorite, which is one of the worst rules in horse racing gambling. We want to see. Well, I'm going to speak on behalf of these guys. I would like to see
alternate.
Well, no, an alternate like they do in California. You pre-plan your alternate for each race, and then you would scratch into that alternate. If that could not be done, B, I would like to see you be able to scratch into the winner of the race at least. That's fair. I think that's fair. Rather than post-time favorite for perhaps you don't want the post-time favorite.
It's a valid point, especially with all these damn regulatory vet scratches of healthy, sound horses that we're seeing. But I digress. Exactly right. But I digress.
So, what needs to be done to get something like that done? Because that seems like the lowest hanging fruit right now.
Well, look, we're gonna elect a new governor. It'll probably be a Republican. It'll probably be Jamie Comer, and there will be a change. I would say in the governance, and that's going to be the opportunity, like literally 2 years from now, to kind of push for that. You could make your case to the current racing corporation. There are some good people on there. Some good friends of mine are actually on that. We just agree to disagree because I don't like Andy Bashir, and they do. We just agree to disagree. But there are some good people on the racing commission. You should talk to Terry Finley. He's on the racing commission. Dale Romans is on the racing commission. These are people you could talk to about that. But that's a regulatory decision, not a statutory.
Okay, but that means it still falls under the same umbrella, right?
No, the regulatory rules are made by the racing commission, not the General Assembly.
Right. Okay.
or
Well,
the Racing Corporation, I should say.
all right. Well, we're gonna put that on the agenda for 2027.
All right, I'll
Alan
remember.
Schneider, Alan Schneider on the Racing and Gaming Commission.
I am retired, so I got some time.
He's got time, and we want to change these multi-race wager
Alan,
rules.
you'd actually be good at something like that. You're very knowledgeable in those kind of things.
Stop it. I just built cars footing. I don't know Jack.
All right. Now let's get down to brass tacks. We want to talk about Florida, which is I think everybody was a little nervous there for a while. I know you were very, very active with the Florida legislators about decoupling, which is it's a bad word in horse racing. And decoupling essentially is when one day a lot of these states are probably going to get wise and start dividing up horse racing and slots and casino wagering. And Florida was close to it, and it's really a sinister way this came about, I think. But I won't go into that. But you were very vital in basically saving Florida racing. I think. Tell us more about that.
Well, let me go back to the beginning 20 years ago when Frank Stronach owned Gulfstream Park, and the Florida legislature passed a law legalizing the coupling of racing and gaming. Then there was a local referendum passed in Broward County, and then an agreement between the horsemen and Gulfstream Park to go forward with a coupled operation that allowed Gulfstream Park to put 2,000 slot machines in at the track. Fast forward 20 years, that law is still in place. There's only 500 slot machines buried in the bowels of the grandstand at Gulfstream Park, but it's an important part of the revenue model for purses at that track. And the ownership of Gulfstream Park, the Stronach Group, First Racing, whatever you want to call them, they are attempting to decouple the racing license from slots so that they will no longer be required to operate live racing in conjunction with their slots license. Conjecture would tell you that they want to either sell it as a casino site or develop a casino there. I don't know. I don't talk to Belinda Stronach, and I can't read her mind. But conjecture would lead you to that, since she has left behind her a path of destruction of closing down racetracks in North America. So fast forward to last year, I get a call when the decoupling bill was filed. I got a call from Mark Cassey, a member of the Canadian and U.S. Horse Racing Halls of Fame, and he said, "Can you help us?" And I had just left the Kentucky General Assembly and was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my time. And I said, yeah, I'd love to help. He said, "We need your help. Horse racing, legislation. We want to put together a coalition to kill this decoupling bill." So that's what we did. We put together a coalition of the Florida breeders and owners, the Florida HPPA, the Gulfstream HPPA, I should say, the Tampa HPPA, OBS, Ocala Breeder Sales, and a lot of horse farms and van companies and vet clinics and farm owners from all over the country, not just Florida, because everybody recognized that not only is the horse industry important to Florida with 33,000 jobs and 3.2 billion in economic impact, but it is critical to the North American racing industry ecosystem. We estimate that 80% of the yearlings that sold in September at Keeneland, for example, are now in Ocala getting their early training to be racehorses before they fan out across the continent to their trainers. For example, as you guys know, I'm an investor, a partner in CJ Thoroughbreds with Corey Johnson and CJ Johnson. We've had some luck with Tom's Magic and Hang the Moon, and hopefully a couple others coming down the pike here. We have 10 now 2-year-olds that we bought as yearlings at Keeneland and Fasig-Tipton. All 10 of them are in Ocala right now getting their early training. And they are, so we're paying board and training and vet and blacksmith and feed, just like thousands of other people who send their horses to Florida. So not only do you have the 2 tracks at Gulfstream and Tampa, but also the early training system at farms and training centers all over Ocala. You've also got 3 training centers down in South Florida, Palm Beach Downs, Payson Park, and Palm Meadows. And you also have the Florida breeding industry with stallions and mares and foals and weanlings and all of that. So all of that is in jeopardy if we decouple racing from gaming and these tracks are allowed to keep their gaming licenses without doing horse racing. It would be disastrous. And when I got hired last year, when I got down to Florida and we put together our group and we started meeting, we hired a lobbyist. I can tell you that we were 50-1, and it was 3-5 that decoupling was going to pass. And sure enough, it zipped through the House of Representatives, but we stopped it cold in its tracks in the Senate. We've got allies in the Senate who understand. They understand the importance of the horse industry to Florida. And we got a major assist from the best governor in America, Ron DeSantis. Came to OBS, did a press conference, stood up in the auctioneer's lectern or podium or whatever you call it, OBS, and basically said everything but I'll veto the bill if they pass it. So that was a big win. I was actually at Churchill Downs at the Kentucky Oaks when I got the final call from our lobbyist, who said the Speaker of the House just called and declared decoupling dead. So that was a big victory, but we knew we couldn't take a victory lap because we knew that Gulfstream was going to come back. And sure enough, the legislature starts this week, and the decoupling bill is already on the agenda in its first House committee this week. So we know that we've got a big challenge, but we're better prepared to meet that challenge than we were last year. We won last year. We think we've got a good chance to do it, but I don't want anybody to get overly optimistic or overly confident. Gulfstream Park is a worthy adversary, and they are determined to do whatever it takes to decouple Gulfstream Park racing from its gaming license. And this is not a game. Clearly, for whatever reason, Belinda Stronach wants out of horse racing. Mike Rapoli has basically offered $1 billion to buy Gulfstream Park, and they won't even have a conversation with him. There are two other prominent ownership groups that I know of that would be interested in buying Gulfstream Park and keeping it as a racetrack, and she won't even have the conversation. So, and we're not even talking about what's going to happen to Santa Anita probably in a couple of years from what I'm hearing out there. It's an even worse situation than Florida, because we at least have legislative support in Florida, but as you know, the Indian tribes control Sacramento in California. So we have basically no support in the legislature in California. We do in Florida. And that's one reason why I think ultimately we will be successful. We can be successful. It's why we were successful. But it's a big fight. We're prepared to fight it. We know it's going to pass the House. I want all your listeners to understand the decoupling bill is going to pass the House, and everybody's going to freak out. But we have a plan. We have a plan that we hope holds to defeat it in the Senate and hopefully keep it from coming up to a full vote. And, Mike Rapoli had a big assist last year. He's a very good friend of Governor DeSantis. And I talk to Mike regularly and remind him that we may need him to appeal to the governor yet again to help kill this bill.
Real quick before I turn it over to these guys, what's going on in Virginia? I didn't know there was an issue there.
Yeah, it's not very well publicized, but there's an effort to consolidate the Virginia Gaming Commission, which oversees casinos, the Virginia Lottery Commission, and the Virginia Horse Racing Commission, all under the Virginia Gaming Commission. Now, you say, well, Damon, you did that in Kentucky. Well, yes, I did, but horse racing leads the way. The way the bill is structured in Virginia, it would put horse racing at the bottom of the totem pole, so to speak, the bottom of the ladder, the bottom of the stack. And Virginia right now is one of the true success stories in horse racing and has great possibility for growth with Churchill Downs owning Colonial Downs and with the HHR machines and the good racing program being developed there by my good friends, Gary Palmisano and Dan Bork. Virginia's really got a shot to be a shining beacon for the future of horse racing, but we don't want to see the racing commission basically subjugated to the gaming commission and just kind of treated as an afterthought. So I'm working with the Virginia Equine Alliance, which is the HPPA, the horsemen, the breeders, the owners, the harness industry, Great Meadows steeplechase. We're all part of the VEA, Virginia Equine Alliance, and we're trying to get this bill improved. So that's that's what I'm doing there, working as part of a team there. It's it's different in Florida. I'm the senior advisor to TRI, and I help figure out the overall strategies and tactics. In Virginia, I'm more part of a established team of lobbyists and advocates and industry groups. So I can adapt and to whatever people need me to do. I'm happy to do if it helps save horse racing.
Yeah, I agree. Let's turn it over to Alan or Geoff. Swing on
I'll
it.
go. Yeah, this is actually incredibly interesting to me, Damon, and I appreciate it because I didn't know much about decoupling. I thought that's what happened when Hall and Oates broke up. You know what I'm saying? I was
Well,
like,
that was a bad decouple.
yes, it was.
I
But
mean, tragic. One of the greatest musical duo of all time.
yeah, when are we going to do our own 80s pod? If you ever do an 80s podcast, I want in. You'd be good at it. And if you need a co-host, if you need a share to your Sonny, I'll be happy to join in because you know your stuff. You know your stuff when it comes to 80s music, don't you?
70s and 80s, the last 2 decades of truly great, consistent music.
Let's start with the first question I would ask you then. Who's more underrated, Eddie Money or 38 Special?
Eddie Money.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah,
they're both
easy.
great. I don't think there's a wrong answer, but Eddie Money was great. See how good we'd be at this? Just keep that in mind if you want to branch out even further in your life, okay? Just keep that in mind.
Hey, I got 2 tickets to Paradise.
Oh my God, we're up. Let's go. Let's roll. And with that in mind, I know you've traveled a lot. Have you ever found yourself staying on the corner in Winslow, Arizona? Have you ever discovered that?
Well,
Have you ever been?
the Eagles are my favorite band.
Yes.
I've seen them in concert 15 times, including 3 times at the Sphere. But
Jeez.
I have not made it to Winslow, Arizona. There's a statue of Glenn Fry,
Yeah.
and there's a old pickup truck, in a flatbed Ford, on the corner as an homage to the Eagles and Glenn Fry. So that's on my bucket list to get there one day. I want to go to Turf Paradise, and I want to go to Winslow, Arizona, sometime in Arizona. So, how we got off the track? Oh, you mentioned Hall and Oates, yeah.
Yeah. I'm good at getting off the track. I'll ask a horse racing question, or I'll try to get us back on track. Or I got one horse racing question for you because you have been so important to the state of Kentucky, and despite what's going on in other places, at least for the time being, it is flourishing here in Kentucky. And again, you're a large part of that. Is there a racetrack in Kentucky that you feel especially proud of that is flourishing despite all this? Is there like one of the, it's like your baby that you feel like is really overachieved that you really have a sense of pride for?
Well, that's like asking me to pick which of my 2 kids is my favorite because I love them
Exactly.
both equally. But and I love all 5 of Kentucky's racetracks. Churchill's magnificent. It's the home of the Derby. It should have the Breeders' Cup every 3 years. I think that Keeneland's my home track. It's 20 minutes from my house. It's a very special place to take people. I have a lot of out of town guests and even in town guests who have never been to Keeneland, who I take out there, absolutely love it. Ellis Park's like the little engine that could, and it's really carved out a really great niche for itself. I love Kentucky Downs. I actually brought it out of bankruptcy when I was working at Turfway in '98. Turfway and Churchill Downs bought it, and I was sent down to get Dueling Grounds out of bankruptcy and rename it and open up, get it out of bankruptcy, open up the restaurant, open up simulcasting, and run the first live meet in 3 years. So I've got a personal attachment to it. But Turfway is. I spent 7 or 8 of the best years of my life as the comms director at Turfway, working for Jerry Carroll and Mark Simmendinger. It's what brought me to Kentucky in 1992, and I could have never guessed the blessings that I would be showered with by the decision to move to Kentucky and work at Turfway. We were there during the glory years of the Jim Beam Stakes, and we created the Kentucky Cup Day of Champions, and we had horses like Serena's Song and Tabasco Cat and Thunder Gulch. Mariah's Storm, the Dam of Giants Causeway, beat Serena's Song at Turfway. We had Hansel and Prairie Bayou and Lil E.T. and Summer Squall. I mean, we were killing it, man. And then I watched. I left for the Breeders' Cup and then got into politics, and I watched Turfway fall into disrepair, and it that facility was in bad shape, and to see Turfway now with $100,000 maiden specials. I don't love what Churchill Downs did with the live racing viewing facility.
Amen.
I just wish we had an indoor grandstand there to give average racing fans a place to sit. But having said that, 95% of what they did there, I mean, first of all, they saved it, right? I mean, they tore down the old place, saved the track. I'll be eternally grateful. They put in a new rail, a new surface, a new tote board, fixed up the paddock and the winter circle. They put in a new detention barn and 5 new barns, and improved the jocks room, and I love it. I love it up there. I spent some of the best years of my life in Northern Kentucky. I still have a lot of friends up there. And so Turfway's probably, the place that I feel the most personal connection to, because for every day for 7 or 8 years, I was trying to figure out how to get more people to come to the races. And man, we had some good times there. We had some good times.
It feels like it's risen like a phoenix in a lot of ways, right? And you're 100% right. If they could just work on that grandstand, if you're listening, Gary P, then it'd be almost perfect. But there's a Lazarus effect, it seems like, with Turfway, because it seemed dead to rights, and now it's flourishing. It's having its moment. And I don't know, maybe it's because they've got Jeff Riggs, who's going to turn it over to hosting their simulcast show. Maybe that's a big reason why. But Jeff, you want to take it away now that I've given you that cool intro?
It is quite an intro. I appreciate it. And I don't think that's the reason, because, Caitlin Benson does the best job of anybody out there. But I'm doing my best to keep the seat warm while she is taking care of baby Asher. But yeah, absolutely, Turfway Park, and just it's coming back, and as Damon said, the $100,000 maiden special weight purses, just the quality of the racing product is unbelievable there right now. Absolutely. But
yeah, I'm going up
Damon.
Wednesday night. We've got a horse in Wednesday night named Vinalia.
Okay.
We brought her in England, and that didn't work out. We sent her to Phil D'Amato in California, and that didn't work out. So now she's at Fair Hill with Graham Motion, and let's see if we can break her maiden Wednesday night. So I'll be up there. I'll definitely be up there.
Awesome. Best of luck in there for sure. You talked about how you moved from Michigan to work at Turfway. I guess kind of what brought that about, and what was your original draw to racing in general?
Oh, actually, I was in Maryland at the time.
Oh, Maryland.
So
Excuse me.
I was born and raised in Michigan, went to Michigan State. Go Green. Tom Izzo is the best basketball coach in the country. You all wish you had him at your school.
Yes, we do.
Yes, you do. And I worked my way through Sparty Land at the old Detroit race course. And then I
Mhm.
worked 2 years at Thistledown, a year and a half in Maryland. And I was miserable in Maryland. I just did not like living out there. And uh, I worked for Joe DeFrancis, which was not an ideal situation. Didn't really like that. So I almost immediately started looking for a new job. And uh, I always, since I was a kid, growing up in Michigan as a horse racing fan, I wanted to get to Kentucky. And
Yeah.
Jerry Carroll offered me a job to be the comms guy at Turfway. You got to understand, I grew up not in a horse racing family. When we moved to Northern Michigan when I was 10 years old, my parents got my horse crazy sister a pony, and my dad built me a go-kart out of an old lawnmower. My dad was a machinist.
That's
He
awesome.
could make anything with his hands. And the go-kart broke down. The pony kept going. I used to sneak the pony out of the barn when my sister wasn't around. And I would definitely break the Heisa crop rule on that pony because she was a mean SOB. And I loved it. She would dump me in the field. I would run her as fast as I could, and she would stop and prop on me, and I would go ass over tea kettle. Can I say that on a podcast?
On this one, you can.
And,
Yes,
and I thought this was great. So I begged my parents to buy me a horse. I quit the Cub Scouts and joined the 4-H horse club with my sister. I read the Black Stallion novel and got hooked on racing. And then the critical moment was in March of 1979. I was watching Wide World of Sports. The Florida Derby was then run on a Tuesday, and they showed it on tape delay on a Saturday. And I saw the greatest horse to ever look through a bridle, Spectacular Bid, won the Florida Derby, and I've been hooked on horse racing ever since.
man, that's awesome.
And don't give me any of this flight line crap. Okay.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's been that debate for sure of the generations of horses and all that, but I cannot argue with you on Spectacular Bid whatsoever.
Look,
Absolutely.
Flightline was a very good horse,
Hmm.
but I cannot countenance those who say he's one of the greatest of all time. I just, I mean, you could say he's the greatest of the Breeders' Cup generation, and you could make an argument that but then you got to put him up against Ghost Sapper and Curlin and Sunday Silence and Ali Sheba and Cigar. But that's a debate worth having. But
Yeah.
honestly, don't give me any greatest horse of all time since the 70s. We have not had a horse since the 70s who could compete with Secretariat, Affirmed, Forgo, Seattle Slew, Spectacular Bid, Affirmed. Did I say Affirmed?
Yes, definitely. But yeah, no, I agree completely because I think it's just the whole different set of criteria there with the stamina and the longevity and everything. I mean, it's just you can have impressive individual performances that don't necessarily make greatest horse of all time, in my opinion.
I put Gunrunner in that group. When you look at the
That's
breeders
fair.
and Zenyatta, I put Zenyatta in that group. I mean,
Oh yeah.
all those horses I would call great, and I would call Flightline great, and every horse I named, I consider great. But I just don't think we've seen anything since that group, and I put John Henry in that group too. I just don't think we've seen greatest of all time greater than those horses that came around in the 70s. The horses they just don't do. And I'd also put American Pharoah and Justify in the greatness category because you don't win the Triple Crown unless you're great. We've seen a lot of near
I
great
agree with that
horses
too. I think
try and
a
fail.
lot of people kind of are, so-so on the Justify camp, but I agree. Any Triple Crown winner in my book is a great horse of all time. Speaking of, great horses, you're involved in ownership now, and you've had some pretty nice horses as well. We already talked about Tom's Magic. Do you have a favorite memory at the racetrack as an owner, just in that capacity at this
Yeah,
point?
absolutely, I do. So I started getting into the racehorse partnerships with Harlan Malter and Iron Horse Racing in
Hmm.
2019. We won our first First out, we won with a horse that Tim Gleishaw trained, an Indiana bred filly named Lady Ally. I thought this was easy. It's not. Uh, then I started buying a share every year because I've known Corey Johnson since 1990. We've known each other for a long damn time. Corey's a really good friend, and we've had some great moments. I'm standing in my hallway looking at a picture of Tom's Magic winning the Breeder Stakes, third leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. Should have won the King's Plate. We were the best horse that day, but he didn't break great from the gate. Didn't like the poly at first. Pietro Moran rode a brilliant race on the front end on Mancetti, and by the time Tom got straightened out and rolling, and he was rolling, Mancetti was long and gone. Yeah. So hats off to O'Wellings. I mean, if you're going to get beat, you want to get beat by nice people like Alan Bill O'Welling. But, coming back and winning the Breeder Stakes, that was a highlight. Lady Ally winning that first time out was a highlight. But my absolute highlight occurred just this last year at Keeneland when my daughter my daughter went to Middle Tennessee State. She's a pilot. As a matter of fact, she just passed her final check ride last week, and she's getting ready to start flying Embraer 175 regional jets for SkyWest. So she's got this great friend group from Tennessee who she started bringing up to Kentucky Downs every year. I've turned about 10 or 12 Tennessee kids into horse racing fans. Now they come up they come up to Keeneland in the spring and Kentucky Downs in September. And we have won a race at every track except Kentucky Downs, Ellis, Turfway, Churchill. We had not won at Keeneland. And so that was in April when Macero, under Corey Lannery, who's one of my favorites because I always cheer for the middle-aged jockeys because I'm middle-aged or slightly past middle-aged. And I like it when guys like that are still winning. So Macero, trained by Dale Romans, ridden by Corey Lannery, and my daughter and all of her friends were there, and I was jumping up and down like a monkey on a stick. There is actual video of that occurring. My 3-inch vertical is not very impressive, but to win our first race at Keeneland with Macero, with my daughter and all of her friends there, it wasn't a stakes race. It was a non-2, nice rich allowance race on the turf. Came from behind. That was definitely my highlight. That was definitely my highlight. Very, very emotional time. And then we had another winner, and my daughter was home for it. We had a really nice horse named Patrol Squad 6, broke his maiden at Keeneland in October. Just ran third yesterday at Gulfstream. I don't know if you know this, but it's really difficult to come from dead last and win on the turf at Gulfstream Park.
At Gulfstream, yeah, just about impossible.
But he came rolling. Put him on your watch list. Patrol Squad 6.
Awesome, very cool, and I can back you up on that for sure. Just because personally, I've been involved with a small piece of a few horses, but one of my very favorite wins was our first win at Keeneland as well. A horse named Johnny's Fireball was also
I was there.
Allowance race.
Yeah, with Brilliant Racing.
Yes, with Brilliant Racing.
I was. Yeah,
exactly.
I did a Brilliant Racing partnership. I was in on what was her name? Risky Behavior. She won in Indiana.
Yeah, Brilliant 2, right?
Yeah, Brilliant. I was in on Brilliant 2. So
Yeah.
I always cheer for the brilliant horses. So I remember that day when Johnny's Fireball won. I mean,
Yeah.
Keeneland's a special place. You only get 6 weeks out of the year where you got a chance to win at Keeneland, and everybody wants to win there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so tough.
It is so tough. Yeah.
I mean, you got
It's special.
Fletcher's there, Brown's there, even the California guys are coming in more and more,
Right.
So
right.
yeah. That was cool. I was cheering for you guys when Johnny's Fireball won.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, I tell everybody that there is no better feeling in the world than having a horse that you have a connection to coming down the stretch with a chance to win with friends and family around you. Like that is the 100% best feeling in the world to me.
Nothing like it. I went out to Del Mar the weekend after Thanksgiving for Tom's Magic and the Hollywood Derby. and I took my girlfriend with me, and she uh, loved going to Del Mar as a Kentucky girl, and she has pictures of me jumping up and down like a monkey on a stick. You know, Tom, we had test score. We had Antonio Fresu was on Tom, and he had test score trapped the whole way. Test score was the favorite Gramps horse, and then it's that short Del Mar stretch. He made the lead. We had test score beat, and here comes Umberto on the Juddmonte horse, tracking us the whole way and beat us on the wire by it was a dirty neck. I call it a short neck or a long head, but all I want to do is win a grade 1 race, guys. I just want to win. I mean, I want to win a grade 1 race. We were 6 inches away from it. We got a Canadian Classic. The goal this year is to turn Tom into a grade 1 winner. He's the son of Justify. He's probably got some residual value as a stallion somewhere, but if we could win a grade 1, who knows? He's a big, good looking son of Justify out of a stakes producing Rahi mare. So we'll see. Right now he's pointing for the Fairground Stakes on Valentine's Day, Risen Star Day.
Love that.
Yeah, and
that's a fun day. Have you been down there to Fairgrounds?
Last year, John Dooley's one of my oldest and best friends in the horse racing business.
Love John G. Dooley. He's
and
the best.
I'd never been to the Fairgrounds because it's during the Kentucky General Assembly session. So the first thing I did first year out of the legislature is I went down last year for Risen Star Day, and of course had to go to Dooley's favorite restaurant. He's got a bar stool. Yeah, the Santa Fe.
Yeah.
There's a plaque up where he's got that bar stool. It says Dooley's Corner.
That's right.
They got pretty good margaritas. So I just bought our plane tickets. We're going down there to see Tom hopefully run and hang out with Duels at the Santa Fe and have us some margs.
That's awesome. Yeah. Fairgrounds Racecourse, New Orleans, one of my favorite places in the world. Best people there, and great racetrack, great place to go if you ever get a chance. And Damon obviously can back me up on that. One last thing before I kick you back to CC to end things off. I know you stay busy. You got the horses going, Bourbon, your company as well. But have you had time to take up any new hobbies outside of that, being out of the political office here the last year or so?
No, I've just doubled down on my existing hobbies: horse racing,
love it,
Bourbon, and concerts of 70s and 80s acts. I travel a lot. I mean, I go to Royal Ascot every year. I go to Ireland every year to go racing over there and to visit farms and go to Coolmore and I've been to Ballydoyle, Aidan O'Brien's place. I've also been to Joseph O'Brien's training yard, and I've been to Donica O'Brien's training yard. So I think I've just doubled down on the things I love to do: horse racing, bourbon distilleries, concerts, movies, nice restaurants, travel. I was restricted, for 22 years. I had to build my life around, my minimum wage job in Frankfurt. So, so I'm trying, doing some work in the two businesses I love the most, horse racing and bourbon. And those are, really sort of my hobbies. And so you guys will see me around. I'm going to the fairgrounds. I'm going to go to the Tampa Bay Derby. I'm going to go to the Virginia Derby. And then you'll see me at Turfway. I'll be there for Jeff Ruby Day and Keeneland, Churchill. And, maybe I'll see you guys at Royal Ascot. You guys would look good. You guys would look good in top hat and tails.
I would.
Yep. Alan would for sure. All right. I appreciate it, Damon. CC, take it away, buddy.
All right, last question. And earlier you said that you didn't like Andy Bashir, the job he's doing. Do you all not get along? Do people in Frankfurt that, like, on one side of the aisle or other, do they not get along, or is it like after hours you kind of buddy up, or how are things in the political realm when it comes to friendships and whatnot?
Good question.
I do not buddy up with Andy Bashir after hours. I do not like him. He does not like me. I think he's a thin-skinned, petulant fraud, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he's not the next president of the United States, because I don't think he's been a very good governor. There are two things I cannot stand I cannot stand someone who lies, and I can't stand someone who takes credit for the work of others. And as majority leader, I got to make the motion to override over 100 Andy Beshear vetoes of our good Republican bills. What does he do? He takes credit for it. He takes credit for things going well because of bills that he vetoed. I just no, we don't like each other, and I'm not afraid to say it. But I will tell you this: that's not the general case. I got along very well with the other Democrats. Morgan McGarvey, who's now congressman from the 3rd District, he's gone a little left-wing nut jobby since he got to Washington, D.C., but when he was the Senate minority leader, we got along really well. I call him a friend. Gerald Neal from Louisville, the current Democrat minority leader, he and I always got along well, right from my first day as a freshman legislator. And, plenty of the other Democrats, there aren't many of them left. There's not many of them left. Only 20 Democrats in the House out of 106 Democrats in the Senate out of 38. But I always got along well with them. And on the horse racing and bourbon stuff, sometimes I had to work out compromises to get Democrat votes because a lot of rural Republicans wouldn't vote for some of those bills. So, I had to cut deals to get the Democrats to vote for it. And it's part of the problem. And look, none of us really like Andy Beshear. He's just not a good guy. But that's we as legislators, Democrats and Republicans get along. We'll have our arguments on the Senate floor, and then afterwards, we'll hug it out or shake hands and joke about it and move on to the next thing. But the biggest problem we have in American politics right now can be best summed up by the words of Steelers Wheel from their 1972 one-hit wonder. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. And I'm not in the middle. I am not in the middle. I have a 90% lifetime score from the American Conservative Union. When I first got to Frankfurt, the Democrats, they hated me. They called me this extremist right winger. The gambling executive from Michigan is what they used against me in my first race. I'm pretty conservative, but I like to get things done. And Mitch McConnell, who I retained great respect for, said, there are two kinds of people in politics, Damon: those who want to make a point and those who want to make a difference. And I tried to make a difference during my 22 years in Frankfurt. Now, I also would often make a point. That was my job as floor leader. It was my job to knock down the Democrats and their arguments and be the lead debater with the Democrats on the floor on issues. But I always tried to make a point with the goal of making a difference. And there's so many people in the fringes of both parties who they're just out to try to make a point. I'm not going to name names. You know who they are.
Yes.
They're in both parties. They suck up all the oxygen in the room. They want to get their hits on CNN and MSNBC and Fox Business and Newsmax. They want to get their dopamine hit from getting all their social media likes. And yeah, look, I like getting social media likes just as much as anybody, but it can't be your reason for existence. And I just kind of grew tired of that. And it's one of the reasons I got out.
All right, I'm still holding out hope. Maybe not.
Me too.
Maybe not next governor, but future governor Damon Thayer. Thank you for joining us. We are very appreciative that you took the time to join us.
You guys are great. Look, if I ever do run for governor, you guys will be the first to be put on my kitchen cabinet. Okay.
That sounds great.
There we
Awesome.
go. There we go.
Every last one of you. Okay. I don't care if
it.
I don't even know if you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. You guys are on the kitchen cabinet.
We'll talk off air.
Okay, big weekend at the fairgrounds coming up. The running of the Lecomte Stakes, probably the most important prep race to date this year on the road to Kentucky Derby. I'm going to be honest with you, this field is aggravating. It's a field of 11. got a lot of the horses that you recognize. They're all kind of the same though. You just you get a horse like Chip Honcho draws on the outside. He won the Gunrunner Stakes.
I know you love Chip
Uh,
Honcho, CC.
I do love him, but I mean, there's a lot of horses in here with speed.
Hmm.
And was it last year that
Yeah,
Magnitude
Yep.
won the Risen Star, right? Yeah, what's going to happen coming out of the gate here? There's a lot of horses that want to be forwardly placed, so one of them's probably going to establish dominance, and then either that horse is going to go wire to wire, or the race is going to fall apart. So interesting race, but well, I don't know. You're going to have to do your homework to come up with.
Didn't we learn last year at the fairgrounds during their 3-year-old prep season that we in their stakes on their big stakes they just blind bet Ben Curtis at 2 turns and hope for the best since he did it at 40 to 1 and 80 to 1. Let's just do that. What do you
Yeah,
say?
especially if he can get to the lead.
Exactly. The guy's an amazing 2-turn speed rider.
Hmm.
He's on Stop
He's a
the
great rider
Car.
in general.
Yeah. Who's he on?
Stop the Car. You remember that race? This was the one that
Yes.
Amos had the 3 to 5 shot that looked invincible, and
Yep.
he fell apart like a soup sandwich coming home.
I had
Yeah,
I had the possibility to almost break the bank that because of him winning that day. It was Tyler Gaffleone, right? And it didn't work out later on down the road, as I recall. But that horse is underrated. And Ben Curtis is on him. What's his odds? What's
yeah.
his morning line?
I've already switched away. I think he's like 8 to 1, 10 to 1, something like that. I've already
Hmm.
moved on.
Gotcha.
Sounds right
Turfway,
up your alley,
Turfway.
Alan.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Mr. Riggs,
Yes, sir.
Turfway is running the Leonidas Stakes. Isn't that a Derby winner? I think he won
Damn
the
right.
Derby.
I don't know if he won the Derby, but I know Rich Strike ran fourth in that race in the Leonidas, or third.
Yeah.
It was that
Yeah.
point that he earned point or two he earned in that race that eventually got him in the Derby.
It's 2 turns, 1 mile, $125,000 purse, and looks like the favorite's probably gonna be on the outside. Street Beast, who
Street
won
Beast,
the
yeah.
Kentucky
So I was
Downs,
looking at.
yeah, won the Kentucky Downs Juvenile Mile,
Hmm.
and finished fourth in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf behind Stad. But I think he'll take some beating. Walter Rodriguez winds up on I did. I'm not really in love with this horse, making his
No.
first start on synthetic. Son of Curlin. Uh, Comes out of 2 straight stakes races where he didn't fare well. And outside of that, full effort for Brad Cox. Comes off a impressive allowance win at Keeneland. And Valiant, son of Into Mischief, $1 million son of Into Mischief, won at Turfway on December 5th. So interesting field. Should be a fun betting race. And I will be at Turfway on Saturday. Yeah,
Oh,
hopefully.
cool. Good.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, my buddy's got a horse in the third race, Chado,
Oh yeah, Michelle's
and
horse.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to stretch out, go mile 16th. I can't find a race. Uh, some races are overfilling, and some races are not. So, going to wind up here, see what happens. Going 2 turns first time, looks like.
So yeah, the Leonidas has not only provided us Rich Strike. Leonidas is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Chunk of Gold ran second in the Leonidas last year. I want to say to Baby Max. I may be wrong about that, but so
Oh,
this
okay.
horse has this underrated stakes race. It always has had Derby implications the last several years, so it's definitely worth keeping in mind, keeping an eye on.
Absolutely.
Leonidas foaled in 1880 in Kentucky. Was an American thoroughbred racehorse who won the 1883 Kentucky Derby. That was the first year you went, right, Alan?
Let me see. Yes, I believe I had 2 to win, 2 to show on the horse.
So
That's
there you
big
go.
money back then.
I got me a new wool suit and a fedora.
I was gonna say.
Would like to know the connection to Turfway, or I didn't even know Latonia was around back then. But
Well, we will challenge Mr. Riggs to come up with that and provide that on air to let us know
Yeah.
what that connection is because I don't know.
all right, interesting indeed. All right, anything else?
That'll do it for me.
Yeah.
All right, let's shut her down. On behalf of our guest, ex State Senator Damon Thayer, and of course Alan Schneider, Geoff Riggs, and a host of thousands of others, I'm CC Broaddus, reminding you that gambling money ain't got no home. Good night.